I'm Christine. I'm the Education and Programs Coordinator here at the Greater Denton Arts Council. Welcome to Patterson-Appleton Arts Center. We're so glad you're here. I'm here today with Erin. Hello. She is our administrative assistant, and then we have Narciso from Radical Hospitality. And Narciso and Georgina were kind enough to let Erin and I in on this project, and we've had a great time creating this event and getting to know these artists and interviewing them over the last few weeks and getting to see their spaces and their artwork. And I'm going to turn it over to Erin. She's got the questions that we're going to ask the artist, and then when the artists are done with the questions that we have, we will cut the cake and have snacks, and the artists will, they each have like a space to stand with their own artwork to display, and then you will be free to go talk to the artists and ask them your own questions. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic. We're going to say thank you to Jeff for coming from LSA. This is the LSA Mural Art Project, so Jeff is here. He's the manager over at LSA. And then the artists will be, at the end of the evening, going to get started on their projects. So, Erin? Hi, everyone.
You want to tell us anything about the project before we get started?
Yes. This is our 5th year doing this. I guess also it's our 6th year, in existence. But these artists are wonderful. They each bring in their own skill set and their own passion and love for their craft. And I think this year is going to be more momentous and more wonderful than it has been in a long time. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's get ready to mural!
Wow, I can't really follow up on that. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin. Just like Christine was saying, this is her and our first time getting to know the artists and working with this project. We've gotten to know everybody so far, so now we just want to give you all an opportunity to meet everybody. So I'm going to go down the line and ask a few questions. But first, let's have everyone introduce themselves. So I'm going to start with you, Dan. There you go.
I'm Dan Black.
I'm Chelsea Miller.
I'm John, but most people want to know her name, and it's Eagle.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Brady. Hi, I'm Selena Mines.
I'm an artist now. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first question. Let's start this way. Selena, so how do you come up with a mural idea, and what is your thought process like?
I guess it just really depends on the client. It fluctuates depending on the person and what their style is like or what they want their vision to become. For this one, I actually drew inspiration from my dog. So I'll be painting a huge Boston Terrier on the wall because it's her 10th birthday on Saturday. So you gotta honor the fur babies, right?
Yep.
So that's my thought process for this mural.
I remember we were talking about what would happen if everyone just painted their pets, and I kind of wish we went forward with that. Stephanie.
Oh, same question.
Okay, well, I love to think about the color first. I think about the color palette because that brings a lot of different inspirations for me. I think also about the shapes that I use in my murals, my compositions, and a lot of the work that I do has typography within the mural, so it has a message. So I like to just do layers of information, whether it's visual or more abstract information, and I also think about the client and the audience.
Stephanie actually has a mural up right here behind her. I really like it because it's abstract. I was looking at a lot of your work, and I could tell that that was your thing, and I really like it. Okay, John, how do you come up with a mural idea, and what is your process like?
Well, I did the mural last time at LSA, and I get really excited whenever I'm around a hamburger. So I did a pug that's really excited with a hamburger because that's kind of how I feel. And this time, whenever I hear music, I see color.
And the music is starting to start coming back to Denton, so I wanted to do a music-based painting. So it's a woman's face, but in her face, it's all the colors from music. It was written by Stockton Helbing. He's actually a jazz performer that's from UNT, and so I'm going to be working on that. And but yeah, so it just depends on. LSA has just got so much music and it's so much art that I wanted to combine the two.
Chelsea?
Thank you. I guess I really like to do portraiture, so that's what I'll be doing this year. I don't know. I also think about color and composition. It just kind of varies, I guess. Sometimes I kind of make it up on the spot. Like with the one I did back there, I kind of made up a lot of the background as I went, which was really fun. I don't know. I really like painting expressions and portraits, and I geek out on skin tones for some reason. So, yeah.
I would relate to a lot of these, but for me, especially recently, it's hard for me to come up with a design without looking at the wall first. For some reason, there's some of them about a blank wall, like a blank piece of paper is kind of intimidating, but a blank wall feels like a good starting point to like see what's around it. And so my favorite thing to do is just like sit and stare at the blank wall until something kind of pops out of it.
So do you say, like, would the process differ just with any project you're doing, or do you feel like you have a set, this is kind of a question for everyone, do you feel like you have a set checklist that you go down before you get started? So what is, I'm going to start with you, Stephanie. What is your favorite mural that you've done so far?
Well, to be honest, I don't have a lot of murals. So every single one that I've done so far is like dear to my heart, because I never thought that I would be painting murals. I always just stuck to, canvases, like after hours, just kind of like living my true best life. And then I had the opportunity to do one mural in Houston, and then that drove to another mural, and then this one. So every single one of them has taught me so much, and I actually do have a little bit of like a checklist that I do now that I've been doing more. So I think that maybe when 10 years from now you can ask me that question, I can be like, oh, this one right here is the best.
How long ago was your first one?
A year ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so. I think the largest mural I've ever done was 20 feet tall by 110 feet long, and it was a portrait of Roy Orbison in Vernon, Texas. And that's probably my favorite one because his face is literally massive, and I can't believe I pulled it off still to this day.
Congratulations. Yeah. It's really cool.
I don't know. I guess my favorite was my first one, but I did it in New York, and at the time, I didn't know, but I was the first blind person to do a mural, and we didn't know it at the time. We were like, it was like halfway through, and they're like, "Hey, by the way," and so that was kind of it was a memorable sort of thing. But I don't know. I really like that pug though with the hamburger. Yeah. So it's hard to say.
It was beautiful. I think that my favorite would probably be my first one that I did at LSA 2 years ago, just because it was so terrifying, and I had so much anxiety the whole time, but at the end it was just a really wonderful experience, and I got to meet so many cool people, and it really kind of like opened my eyes to like I enjoyed doing that kind of work, and it was crazy but really fun.
It's hard to pick a favorite, but I painted one after work one day. I just grabbed like a can of black paint and went and did a portrait on this wall that a friend of mine owned, and like it was like in the wintertime or something, and then that spring like a bunch of flowers like blossomed on the roof of the building, like right in the lady's hair. It was like so weird, yeah. And so that was like really special because it felt like the wall was telling me that it loved me. And so that's cool.
Okay, so I also want to give you guys a chance just to talk a little bit about just how you got into art and when you might have started, or what called you to painting murals, or if you do other mediums, like talk about that as well. So I'll start with you, John.
Oh, sure. Painting is the way I see the world, and it's the way I communicate. So it's like my eyes, my mouth. And I've always drawn, but I lost my eyesight in college, and painting was my way of dealing with all the anger and the depression of that. And it worked. You know, the more I paint, the happier I am, and the brighter the colors need to be. And the wonderful thing about murals, and the really cool thing about this project at LSA, is that you're doing the art. It's a public space, you know, which all murals are, but you're doing it around other people, so they can watch all the paintings, all these wonderful artists, as the paintings are happening. You know, and then so it's just this wonderful, creative sort of feeling. So it's just the best part of it, of all of that.
Well, I think I feel like I've always really enjoyed art. I'm really bad at sports, so I couldn't go down that route in middle school and in high school. So I just kind of spent all my time drawing and painting, and I became really good friends with my art teacher at the time, and I think since then I just kind of knew that that's what I wanted to do. So in high school I just did that, I think, and then when I got out and went to college, I just wanted to focus on that and knew that that's kind of where I maybe wanted to go with my life. I don't know. But yeah, so I've always loved art. I haven't really been painting for that long though, actually. I feel like I've been painting, I do a lot of like oil work, and I've been doing that for only like a couple years now, maybe. And I love it. I absolutely love oil painting, so yeah.
Cool. I grew up in Houston, and they had just a lot of street art and graffiti, and I thought it was cool. And I worked at a lumber warehouse in college, and they would throw away these big scraps of wood. And I started just bringing spray paint to work and like painting dumb stuff on them before they threw them away, and taking pictures, and that's kind of how I got started. And yeah, I guess I just fell in love with it. And so trying to figure out how to make it into a job was just trying to figure out a way to keep being able to dedicate large amounts of time to it. You know, felt like that was like the best route. But yeah, it kind of snuck up on me. I was like in school for something completely different, and when I graduated, couldn't get a job, and I was like, by then I like loved it so much. I was like, yeah, let's give this a shot. And
It's working out.
So I guess from a very young age, I always was very much intrigued by drawing and coloring. I remember my dad, I'm from Colombia. Back in Colombia, my dad had this kind of workshop room, and he had a ton of spray paint, and I would go in there when he wasn't working, and I would spray paint the walls, thinking that I'm some kind of like massive artist, and my dad would be so mad at me all the time. So I was always drawing and coloring on my parents' books. So I think that from a very young age, I was totally like drawn to art. And then when I got to college, I wanted to continue that, but I started thinking, how can I make it more of a, something that can actually pay the bills? So I did a graphic design school, and now I work in an architecture firm doing massive murals and graphics for like wayfinding and stuff like that, which is still very creative. But I think the mural part of it and drawing and painting is more of just like I'm my own client in a way, so I can do whatever I want. And that it's when it's the best, truly. So art's always been part of my life.
I think I can relate to everyone on this stage, but art has always been a part of my life as well. It also helped that I had a grandmother who liked to paint, and she had a big influence on my life whenever I was young. However, I didn't paint seriously until I was in college, and I was pursuing a BFA. My emphasis was in painting, my minor was in drawing. Even though I told my dad I'd major in business, but that's a different story. But I didn't think I'd be doing murals either. I wanted to go work for Disney for a long time, but obviously things have changed since then, and now I can't imagine painting like my life without painting.
So this is a question for everyone. Are there any other art forms that you all do on the side or that you want to learn more about? I know we've been talking a lot about painting, but...
We've acquired a laser cutter like 6 years ago or so. So I've always been exploring with like my own jewelry line, and I do my own like crazy little explorations, but I never really like move forward with any of it just because I don't really know what I'm doing. But yeah, I do love to do a lot of laser cutting, and yeah, that's kind of like the only art form that I feel like
could have some potential in the future.
I really enjoy printmaking. It's like, again, a 2D practice, but I also really like ceramics, even though I'm not that good at it. But it's still very fun to, you know, take your anger out on the clay sometimes and slap that clay down on the pot, you know?
No, I can play Spotify pretty well, but that's about it.
Sorry. Ceramics. I want to learn how to make some pots so bad. My roommate has been doing ceramics, and I'm like, they're just so crazy and weird. Like, that you can just make like big faces, and I don't know. So I want to learn how to make that, like, do ceramics really bad.
I'm starting to try to learn clay figure sculpture. It's really fascinating to me. But again, the reason to do art as a job is so I have an excuse to do anything else. That's like, so any art that like interests me, I'm like, well, it could make money someday. You never know. So it's like an excuse to. And to relax, I just recently started making really elaborate birdhouses with little concrete driveways and little turf yards, and I'll put a little car in the driveway. But none of the birds have moved into my houses yet. I guess they don't like the car, I don't know.
They're missing out. I don't know.
They could be just really intimidated by all the features they're not used to. Okay, so when you all do collaborate with businesses and organizations, like when you do, or when you're painting murals, what kind of organizations do you like to collaborate with, or what has been your favorite project so far?
Man, I think that probably whatever has the most amount of like people, like audience, like mixed use projects. I enjoy those just because you have so many variety of people that come that are working or coming in for a drink, or children. I also love education. I agree with that. Education, healthcare, I think those are pretty fascinating.
I'm not from here. I'm from Wichita Falls, Texas. And back home, I have collaborated with a nonprofit group called Wichita Falls Alliance for Arts and Culture. And that's actually the only nonprofit I've ever partnered with, but I've enjoyed working with them the past 2 years.
Thank you. I don't know, it just depends on where the art's going to be, like who's going to be seeing it. Like, we're working on some projects. We're hoping to go in some children's hospitals, and we've worked with different nonprofits in the past. But it just depends, you know, because I do a lot of commission work, so every time I do a painting or a mural, you know, you're taking in what everybody wants, what everybody sees. Like if you're working in a neighborhood, who lives there and who's going to be living with the artwork every day? And I don't know, I think that's fun. It makes it interesting and makes it enjoyable.
I think most of the businesses that I've worked with have been like pretty loose with what they're wanting, and they're like pretty open to what I'm willing to do for them. So that's been really fun. It's been like restaurants or like coffee shops and places that like trust me, which makes it easier, you know, that there's not this like crazy strict thing that they're wanting. So I haven't had to run into that yet. So I don't know, they're all fun. They're all great.
I think I agree with John. It's like always nice to me when I can partner with somebody that is a part of the group that's going to have to look at the mural every day, especially if it's like an out-of-town thing, to get input from, if it's a school, like people from that school, or because I really believe that public work, public works that people have to kind of look at every day impacts them, and they should be able to see some of themselves in it, you know, for it to have a good impact. And so those are my favorite. If I'm walking into an out-of-town situation and I can't get any feedback from the people that live there, and I'm supposed to just come up with something, that stresses me out, because they're just going to end up looking at me all the time instead of seeing themselves.
So what does participating in the LSA mural project mean to all of you? I'll start with Selena. I know you're from out of town, but still.
I think this is a good way for me to get more experience under my belt and to meet other people and engage with another community. I'm very honored to be here. Like Aaron said, I am from out of town, so this is like a really big step for me as an artist to adventure out of my comfort zone. And I'm really glad that I get to paint alongside with these artists up here.
I guess for me is just another opportunity that I get. I mean, it's pretty amazing when, you know, you work on your own art and you have your own style, and then you start to realize that people are connecting with that and they understand or they feel inspired. So the fact that I was selected for this is super amazing. I'm also on the same boat with Talina in terms of stepping out of the comfort zone. Like, this whole painting in front of people freaks me out. I'm more of like, I want to hide in somewhere and do my thing, so I'll just have my headphones and just do it. And if you guys are there and I'm ignoring you, I'm so sorry. But yeah, it's very exciting for me, for sure.
Oh, thank you. The first show I ever did, the reason I did it was so I could meet other artists and meet other people that was obsessed with art as I was. So a project like this where you were working with other artists is just like a dream for me. It's just incredible. So I love that. And the other thing is that whenever I talk about the arts in Denton, I'm so proud of this town and the arts program, and everybody always thinks music. But there's so many great, incredible visual artists. So I want people to think about the visual arts even more. So what LSA is doing with this and bringing in artists every year to do that, I think it's just brilliant. So I don't know, it's an honor for me.
I think that I always feel emotional getting to do this. This is my second time getting to do it at LSA. I've worked there as a server for like almost 5 years now, which is insane. So it's, you know, for me, and I'm like kind of not really working there anymore, so it is like, feels really great for me to be able to like leave a piece of me there. And so it's, I don't know, it's always really cool to like have that opportunity, and I feel like it's, you know, really sad that, you know, I'm sad and I'm happy, and yeah, so I'm really honored that I get to do this alongside everyone again, so I'm really excited.
When I started painting, I was going to school out in East Texas, and I had a hard time finding other artists to paint with, so I would just kind of go paint on my own. And when we came to visit my brother here, I saw so many murals. That's why we decided to move here. I was like, I'm going to find somebody, and I'm going to paint with them. Like, they got to be here. And we did, and it's like, and I used to apply for like contests in Austin and stuff like that, and I'd be like, I don't even care, I'm just gonna like meet other artists, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna have friends, like, but then you show up if it's a contest and everybody's kind of like, you know, everybody's like, nobody trusts you, you're like the guy that's in the way of them, and the trophy's like a $50 gift card, like nobody cares. But so to do something like this where it doesn't have to be a comparison of the different arts, which that is hard to do anyway, but it can just be a celebration of all these arts and the diversity and then the camaraderie you can have, because nobody's in the way of what you want, you know, like you're getting to do it, and it's a super special thing, and especially because I feel like for so long I was like looking for something like that, and so as an artist, I love it, yeah.
Okay, I have one more question. What surprises have you all encountered while doing a mural? I'm hoping for some crazy stories. So, Stephanie, you want to start?
So like I said, I haven't painted that many murals. One thing that's happened is when I get a size of the canvas, the wall, and then I go check and it's actually smaller. So then I'm just like, okay, it's time to become very inventive, figure it out. And then I guess another surprise would be the first mural that I did that was so big. When I agreed to do this, it was all through calls. I had not seen the space itself. I was just looking at floor plans, and you know, I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. And then I went to see the wall, and it was so daunting and scary that I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, they're paying me to do this mural, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it. So luckily, there's people around my life that have always supported me. One is my husband, and then my family, and I always drag them to all of my crazy art projects, and I know that I can count on them. So next time that I have to encounter any kind of crazy challenges, I know who I'm gonna call, and we'll see. I don't have any crazy stories. That's just all I have to share.
I'm not sure how to answer this question. I don't know, I feel like service of the wall is a big surprise half the time, and whenever they agree to like scrape it or sandblast it or power wash it, and then whenever I get to this spot and it's not, is really surprising and also disappointing in a lot of ways. So I think that's probably the most surprising thing I have for my mural experience, is the surface of the wall. It matters, guys. It's got to be flat.
Hopefully going forward, there's only good surprises.
In the studio, I use touch. Well, everywhere I use touch to be able to paint, I use paint that feels different. And it's surprising with a mural, because I can't touch it all. Like, I've done a couple of 4-story murals in Dallas, and you can't, like, just feel different things. And I'm on a lift, and it's weird when you're up high up the lift, you're in it, and the wind blows, and you're like, whoop, you're kind of bobbing around, and I'm thinking like, ooh, this is surprising. This is different. You're like, oh, my stomach, that's weird. But but another surprising thing about it is that I think it's kind of helped my relationship with my wife, because I have a radio, and then she has a radio, and she's guiding the lift. So I have to be really, really, really nice to her, because, if there's like an argument or something, I may be up on that lift for a while. So, but it's a good time.
I don't know. I can't think of really any surprises, but I think I always underestimate how messy it really is, because like I'm just a messy person in general, and so it's like I'm very like chaotic too. So I'll just have like things like just sprawled out around me. And a couple of years ago, I was like cleaning up, and I had a gallon of blue paint, and I thought my boss was gonna fire me because it was at LSA, and I spilled the blue paint all over the concrete, and I was like frantically trying to wipe it all up, and everyone around me was like, you are so getting fired later, and I was really just like a mess. So I think nothing's really surprising yet, but I just for some reason think it's not going to be as messy as it is, which is my own problem, but we're working through that.
I have a story. I ask a lot more questions now than I used to ask before I go out to paint somebody's property. But I used to just be like, oh, okay, here's the address. I throw paint in the back of the car, and I would just head there. And one time I did that, and it was a gym in Dallas. I won't say which gym. It was an awesome gym. But I showed up, and the gym was open, and everybody there was huge, like way huger than me. And the guy I was supposed to talk to wasn't there, so I'm like, I'm supposed to paint something. And all the equipment was bolted to the floor all around the room, so there was no room for a ladder or scaffolding. So I just climbed with my rattle cans. I just put a bunch in my pocket, and I climbed up on top of the equipment, and I was just like straddling equipment, working my way across, painting this thing across the top. And at one point, like, it started shaking a little bit, and I looked down, and this giant dude is doing like leg presses on the machine, like while I'm standing on it. And of course he's leg pressing like 10 times what I weigh. And he's like, is this messing you up? And I'm like, I would never tell you that you're messing me up. Like, there's no way. I'm terrified. And so I was like, no, man, I'm good. This is great. I love this. This is awesome. And I finished the painting just like straddling all these dusty, yeah. It was a great story though. It was awesome.
Okay, I want to thank you guys again for just being a part of this project and being here and answering these questions. I think I can speak for GDEC and say like we're so excited to be a part of this project. Going forward, I hope we have more panels and just are able to create opportunities to get to know artists in the community or outside of Denton a bit more. I think this project is bringing in a lot of the feeling of togetherness after a year of no one seeing each other. So I'm really happy that you all are here. Thank you guys for coming. We have some charcuterie boards, I think, set up and cake in the back. Oh, we have artists. You want to talk about these? Brian Kelly is an artist, a Denton artist who actually made all of the artist trading cards. So the theme of this event is artist superheroes. So as you can see in the background, this is like the cartoon drawing of everyone, but we actually have artist trading cards that are gonna be going around that have little quick stats about the artist. Yeah, they'll be passed out, so you guys are free to take them as a keepsake. And be free to mix and mingle, get to know everyone, get to know the artist. If you guys have any questions. Oh, no, go, please. Oh, yes.
What's the monetary value of these cars?
So it all depends, because I mean, if an artist signs the car, what's that whole NFT, NFT, whatever thing?
I'm not gonna explain it. Anybody?
You can do one of those tonight, and it may be worth $2 tomorrow. Who knows?
They might be worth a lot someday because they're pretty special. Okay, so I'm going to just talk really briefly about the other artworks that you see in here, the murals that are in here, and what they're a part of, because you may have noticed that many of these artists sitting right here also have murals on our walls as well. And it's part of a show that we have opening up tomorrow called Soul Art Renewal. It was a show made about the end of last year and all of the things that that encompassed. So in the Goff Gallery behind us, we have photography and poetry that was all written in the last year, as well as tomorrow, the Meadows Gallery opens with artwork from all Denton artists of all ages. We have children through professional artists that have pieces that are two-dimensional and three-dimensional in there. And we're going to celebrate all of this exhibit on July 10th with a whole day, 1 to 7 o'clock celebration here with food, and the stage is going to have music, dance, poetry, stuff going on all day from 1 to 7 on July 10th. So don't forget to come back to us. All right, so if the artists want to go over, Georgina and Diana are over there. We're cutting cake. And thank you guys so much for coming. Please enjoy the charcuterie cake and chips and dips and popcorn and punch. And thank you. Oh, and the music. We'll turn the music back on now. And Ellie here from the Denton Vibe on Spotify made us a playlist just for tonight. And it is on Spotify as GDAC and the LSA Mural Project on Spotify. So